Well, good morning, everybody joining us virtually online. It is 10:30, and so we're going to go ahead and get started. Good morning and welcome to the Jacksonville Transportation Authority's annual State of the Authority. I'm David Cotton, the Communications Director here at the JTA. I hope everyone is doing well and staying safe. Speaking of safety at the JTA, safety is our top priority. So before we begin our State of the Authority, I want to go over our safety message for the month of September. Safety by choice, not by chance. Well, again, thank you for joining us today. Our program is going to celebrate the year that was at the JTA while also reflecting on the past 50 years as we celebrate that anniversary of providing public transportation here in the city of Jacksonville. In just a few moments, you'll hear from the chair of the JTA Board of Directors, Ari Jolly, who will chart that history. Later in today's program, you'll hear from our CEO, Nathaniel Ford, who will provide an update on the year that was. Our Chief Administrative Officer, Cleveland Ferguson, will provide an update on our Transit Supportive Urbanism and debut our TOD study on the U2C corridors. We are also honored to have two very special guests with us today. The first is Jacksonville Mayor Lenny Curry, who is presenting our keynote remarks, and Nuria Fernandez, who is the administrator of the Federal Transit Administration, who is joining us from DC. To the members of the media and the public joining us online, again, thank you for your time today. As we've all learned over the past year and a half, sometimes virtual events have some technical difficulties, and we'll do our best to mitigate those along the way. Now, with that housekeeping out of the way, let's go ahead and get to our program. Ari Jolly was appointed to the JTA Board of Directors by Governor Rick Scott in 2015, and in 2021, she was named JTA Board Chair following the tenure of Director Kevin Holzendorf. She's a dedicated and community-focused public servant who cares deeply about the customers and employees here at the JTA. We're happy to have her with us this morning, so please join me in welcoming our Chair of the Board of Directors, Ms. Ari Jolly. Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning, David, and thank you for that introduction. And welcome everyone to our annual State of Authority Affairs. I wanted to recognize and welcome especially Administrator Nuria Fernandez and Mayor Curry. Thank you so much for making time this morning to join us. And I also wanted to welcome my fellow members of the board who are in attendance. We wish that we were able to host this event in person, but for everyone's safety, we decided that virtual works just as well. On that note, I hope everyone is staying safe and healthy. Today, we're here to celebrate the year that was, but also to look back at our past. Amazingly enough, the JTA was formed 50 years ago in September of 1971. The agency was established 16 years earlier as the Jacksonville Expressway Authority. Then in 1971, we took ownership of public transportation. Throughout the decades, the JTA has been a vital and committed partner to our community. Today, we are well known for our public transportation services, as well as our road building arm. In 1971, we began construction on State Road 202, what we now know as JTB. 3 years later, we introduced the first Park and Ride program, offering commuter services from Jacksonville's beaches. In the 1980s, road building and public transportation expanded. By 1984, we introduced a restructured bus route system with new stops, signage, and schedules as the movement grew further away from downtown and towards the suburbs. That decade also saw the JTA receive federal funding for the automated Skyway Express, a roadway at elevation to move people in and out of downtown Jacksonville. And we will touch on that a bit later. At this point, I would like to take a moment to recognize a really truly fine man, former Mayor and City Council President Tommy Hazouri. Mr. Hazouri left such a legacy of positive contributions as a public servant. By way of example, as mayor, Mr. Hazouri led the charge to eliminate tolls on the Matthews, Fuller Warren, Hart, and Trout River bridges, along with JTB. Recognizing Recognizing the need to fund our public transportation system, Mr. Huzuri successfully introduced a half-cent sales tax, which continues to this day. 50 years later, Mr. Huzuri, this time as City Council President, helped us secure more long-term funding for transportation and infrastructure projects through Mayor Curry's Jobs for JAX program. I would like us to take a moment at this time to honor the tremendous legacy and impact Mr. Huzuri had on all of us and honor him with a moment of silence. Thank you. As the 1980s came to a close, the JTA celebrated two major milestones. During its construction, the Dames Point Bridge was often called the Bridge to Nowhere. Boy, were they wrong. When it opened on March 10, 1989, the Napoleon Bonaparte Broward Bridge, or as we call it, Dames Point, instantly became one of the city's iconic landmarks. And it was a catalyst for economic development in North Jacksonville. To this day, it is one of the largest cable-stayed bridges in the United States. That year, we also saw the opening of the Skyway, one of the handful of APM systems funded through a federal pilot program. Today, the JTA is reimagining the future of the Skyway as the ultimate urban circulator to ensure that it reaches its full potential in the years to come. As we entered the 1990s, Jacksonville was once again growing. By 1994, the JTA had grown too and needed a new central terminal for downtown Jacksonville. That year, we opened FCCJ Station, which was later renamed after the courageous and historic civil rights pioneer Rosa L. Parks. In the years that followed, we introduced the Game Day Express to get fans to the NFL's newest franchise, the Jaguars. In the mid-1990s, the Skyway expanded across the St. Johns River, adding 3 new stations to connect both sides of downtown Jacksonville. The new millennium saw the JTA back in the road building business. During the first decade of 2000, we completed the new Mayport flyover ramp from Atlantic Boulevard, along with the new Wonderwood Bridge. We widened Heckshire Drive in North Jacksonville and Argyle Forest Boulevard in Southwest Jacksonville. The JTA replaced the old Beach Boulevard Bridge with one tall enough for ships to pass through without stopping traffic. And as our city was catapulted to an international stage for Super Bowl 39, the JTA services were there to help. During the week of Super Bowl festivities, the Skyway and Gameway Express provided more than 450,000 trips. The 2010s saw the JTA welcome new leadership with Nat Ford, and with him, new innovations and improvements to the system. Mr. Ford joined us in 2012. And that is the year we also launched our first electronic payment system, the Star Card, to make boarding faster for our customers. Over the next few years, Mr. Ford was instrumental in preparing the JTA for the future. That began with a top-to-bottom holistic look at our bus routes. And through the Route Optimization Initiative, the JTA was the first public transit agency in the country to completely redesign an entire system at once. Mr. Ford doesn't shy away from any challenge, and if he's going to do something, he's going to do it big. The result was a streamlined system with fewer stops, better frequency, and better customer service. The following year, we embarked on the groundbreaking new initiative for Jacksonville, the First Coast Flyer Bus Rapid Transit Network. The Green Line was opened in 2015, followed by the Blue Line in 2016, and the red line in 2019, and in just 1 week, the orange line. In 2016, we also began another round of infrastructure projects through the extension of the local option gas tax. That work, which will sunset in 2023, includes $170 million worth of complete streets and mobility corridor improvements throughout Jacksonville. In the years that followed, the JTA has also expanded through local bus routes, regional services, and other mobility options for our growing city. We introduced compressed natural gas, hybrid, and electric buses into our fleet. The St. John's River Ferry joined our family and continues to flourish in historic Mayport Village. We commenced construction on the JRTC in 2018 and completed this new, iconic regional transportation hub in the La Villa neighborhood shortly after the onset of the pandemic in 2020. I am so proud of the management team and everyone involved in the construction of the JRTC and our housing of it during such a difficult and challenging time. The first phase of the development and revitalization in the La Villa area was the intercity bus terminal, which is located just across the street from the JRTC, and it provides connectivity for those that travel via Greyhound or Megabus. It has been a great partnership. Our role in Clay, Nassau, Baker, and St. Johns counties with bus routes, paratransit, and express select services also continues to grow. We began to embrace the private sector, supporting local companies like Beach Buggy and GoTuck. And our vision for the future of the Skyway went from an idea to an innovative autonomous vehicle project that is now moving forward. Over the past 50 years, the JTA has prided itself in providing clean, safe, and reliable public transportation solutions for the communities we serve. Our community service is felt throughout every neighborhood, and that is a testament to the JTA staff, from our bus operators to our project managers to our customer outreach staff. And as we embark on the next 50 years, I am confident the JTA will continue its award-winning legacy. I want to thank my peers on the board of directors for your dedicated, tireless, and focused leadership. You empowered this agency to pursue innovative solutions. I also want to thank Mr. Ford and your executive leadership team for the work you do every day to ensure that the JTA walks the talk and fulfills its mission daily. This agency has been recognized at the local, at the state, national, and now the international level for its innovative thought leadership, and I expect there are more accomplishments on the horizon. Thank you to our guests who are joining us, including Mayor Curry, who has and continues to be a strong advocate for Jacksonville and the JTA. And as I indicated earlier, I'm very, very grateful for Administrator Fernandez for joining us this morning as well. And finally, I would like to take a moment to recognize our immediate past chair, Director Kevin Holzendorf, who has officially been nominated to be the next vice chair of the American Public Transportation Association Board of Directors. Congratulations, Director Holzendorf. As many of you know, Mr. Ford was APTA's chair in 2018. So to have a second JTA official being nominated for this important leadership role is unprecedented. It is a testament to his tenure as JTA chair and the national profile that the JTA has. Again, congratulations, Director Holzendorf. And with that, I thank you again for being here this morning. And David, I will send it back to you.
Well, thank you, Madam Chairwoman, for those remarks, and of course for your leadership as our board chair. Speaking of leadership, our keynote speaker today is none other than Jacksonville Mayor Lenny Curry. Mayor Curry took office in 2015 and successfully won re-election in 2019 for a second term. This past year, Mayor Curry led the charge with the JTA in securing more than $1 billion in new funding for transportation infrastructure needs for our city through his Jobs for Jacks program. Please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker, Mayor Lenny Curry. Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning. Hello. Thank you for this opportunity to join you today for this State of the Authority, highlighting amazing contributions of the Jacksonville Transportation Authority throughout our community. I want to take a moment to acknowledge Nat Ford, who's proven to be a transformational leader for JTA and Northeast Florida. Nat, thank you for your leadership, vision, and dedication to the betterment of our community. I also want to thank Chair Ari Jolly and all who serve on the JTA Board of Directors. Debbie Buckland, Ray Driver, Cole Paget, Kevin Holzendorf, Abel Harding, Greg Evans. It's not always easy to step into the public eye and lead a public agency. There's a lot of scrutiny, criticism, and second guessing. But please know that I appreciate your willingness to serve, your due diligence, and your responsible stewardship of JTA on behalf of Jacksonville citizens. And finally, thank you to all the elected officials, community leaders, and key stakeholders joining us today for your continued support of JTA and our city's transportation infrastructure. It takes all of us working together to build a better, stronger, more connected community. Since its creation by the Florida legislature 66 years ago as the Jacksonville Expressway Authority, the original JEA, this agency has made a lasting and profound impact on the economic development, quality of life, and interconnectedness of our community. I like to think of it this way. A city is a lot like a human body. It is made up of many various parts. On their own, the different organs don't do much. But because they are connected and linked to each other by a complex network of blood vessels and nerves that move resources and communicate, those various parts can function as a whole, thrive. Our roadways, our buses, our skyway, and the many other transportation systems we have here in Jacksonville and throughout the world, those are the blood vessels and nerve endings that unite us, that link us together as one city, that allow us to work together, efficiently move people and resources, and accomplish great things. JTA is Jacksonville's circulatory system, an important network that connects all of us together and lifts us all up. The list of accomplishments this agency has put together over the last half a century is astounding. To name just a few: the construction of the iconic Isaiah D. Hart and Dames Point bridges, the construction of JTB and Wonderwood expressways, the implementation of the Game Day Express Stadium Shuttle service for Jaguars home games and other events at TIAA Bank Field since 1995. Leading in alternative fuels by adding hybrid electric buses to the fleet and building a compressed natural gas station. Leading in innovative transportation systems and strategies like the First Coast Flyer bus rapid transit system and the continued development of the ultimate urban circulator, also known as U2C. And being amazing partners in the community by taking ownership of the St. Johns River Ferry and maintaining its important services and investing in the growth and revitalization of our historic La Villa neighborhood by building the brand new Jacksonville Regional Transportation Center right at its heart. These accomplishment achievements have earned JTA numerous well-deserved recognitions over the years, including CEO Ford's recognition as a White House Champion of Change, the American Public Transportation Authority's Outstanding Public Transportation Achievement Award, and being named the Florida Public Transportation System of the Year. I congratulate Nat and the entire team on these many recognitions for their continued service and leadership in our community. There's one thing I'm most grateful for. It's the amazing spirit of collaboration and partnership between the City of Jacksonville and JTA. This agency has always been a willing and capable partner in working to better serve and meet the needs of Jacksonville citizens, as amply demonstrated in the past year. As we all know, COVID-19 has had a significant impact throughout our country, but it also highlighted significant problems in public health systems throughout the country where access to healthcare, testing, and vaccines may be difficult for various communities. Here in Jacksonville, JTA has been an active contributor along members of my administration, closing those gaps and providing access to important services to citizens throughout our community. They've worked with the city and community partners to provide transportation to COVID-19 testing sites, operated mobile vaccine clinics, and have done so much more to respond to the biggest public health crisis of our lifetimes. As mayor, I am grateful to Nat Ford and his team for stepping up in this time of need for our community. But it's not just during the pandemic that JTA has this spirit of collaboration. Among the many different independent authorities in Duval County, our city departments and divisions probably work most collaboratively with JTA as we serve our citizens. They work with disabled services to meet the transportation needs of our disability community. They work with military affairs and social services to provide buses to those in need. During hurricanes and tropical storms, they work closely with Jacksonville Fire and Rescue and emergency responders to aid in evacuations and provide transportation to area shelters. They collaborate with public work and planning and development departments to coordinate, plan, design, and develop transportation infrastructure that meets the growing needs of our citizens. And they work with the Downtown Investment Authority, Office of Economic Development, and others to develop new, innovative transit systems that will attract more opportunities and companies to our region. But perhaps the most recent and profound example of that spirit of collaboration, JTA's dedication and passion for the future of our city, was with their partnership with my team and I in the Jobs for Jacks initiative approved by City Council earlier this year. As many of you know, Jobs for Jacks is a plan to invest in improving transportation infrastructure needs throughout Jacksonville, utilizing an extension and expansion of the local option gas tax that's already used by most of our peer communities across the state. For too many years, our city did not properly invest in the key infrastructure and needs our community deserves due to inadequate funding. This contributed to the lack of economic development and the decline in quality of life for many neighborhoods. I came into office in 2015 with a commitment to change that. That's what we did. Immediately upon taking office, we conducted an audit of city finances and found $58 million to jumpstart capital investments in neighborhoods. And with pension reform, we were able to free up hundreds of millions of more dollars to spend on those priorities. For example, last year we put forward nearly $240 million CIP, the biggest in the history of our city. But the backlog of projects and community needs is substantial. We needed to find a funding solution to accomplish this priority for our citizens. By leveraging the gas tax, as other major Florida cities do, we will make significant progress on improvements to transportation and infrastructure throughout our community. And by using the gas tax funds to pay for these improvements, we're freeing up dollars to invest in other priorities, such as septic tank phase-outs that have been promised to Jacksonville community for decades. This plan will strengthen our city's circulatory system, improve our interconnectedness, and drive our continued economic growth and momentum in the years ahead. So in conclusion, I want to thank Nat Ford and the entire team at JTA for the visionary leadership, dedication to our city's future, their compassion for our community, our amazing spirit of collaboration to get the job done. It's been an amazing ride since the establishment of the Jacksonville Expressway Authority in 1955, 1971 renaming to the Jacksonville Transportation Authority. I'm confident there are many more happy trips in the 50 years ahead. So again, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for your part in uniting us as one city, one Jacksonville. The state of the authority is strong and the path forward is teeming with opportunity. Thank you.
And thank you, Mayor Curry, for your remarks and, of course, for your leadership every day in our community. We certainly appreciate you being here with us this morning. Over the past year and a half, we've all felt the pressures of COVID-19, and here at the JTA, our bus operators, our maintenance crew, frontline staff, and our administrative employees behind the scenes have spent a considerable amount of time keeping Jacksonville moving. Before we introduce the FTA administrator, we'd like to take a look back at how the JTA has helped our community get through COVID-19.
The past year has been one of turmoil and triumph. Our city, like much of the nation, continued to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. Operating under federal guidelines, JTA mandated that all employees and customers wear a mask in every JTA facility and on every JTA vehicle. The JTA commitment to battling the virus began almost immediately. COVID testing for employees, constant sanitizing of its facilities and vehicles, installing partitions in workspaces, and eventually shifting many employees to hybrid work schedules where they could work from home. The authority received international acclaim for its innovative concept of using autonomous vehicles to transport COVID-19 test samples between the Mayo Clinic's outdoor drive-through testing site and the hospital's laboratory. This efficient process sped up the turnaround times in getting the results, but also freed up hospital workers for other pandemic-related work. When the CDC approved vaccines to fight the virus, the authority helped ensure Jacksonville residents could get their shots and be protected. JTA offered free one-day passes to anyone who needed a ride to a COVID-19 vaccination site in Jacksonville. The passes were even made available through the My JTA mobile app to make it easier for people to get them. With citywide vaccination rates still running low and too many citizens not able to get to a vaccination site, JTA took the extraordinary step of transforming buses into mobile vaccination clinics and partnering with Agape Family Health to administer vaccines in transit-dependent areas of the city, allowing thousands of Jacksonville residents to be vaccinated against the COVID-19 virus.
Even before the pandemic, the JTA, our staff, the board of directors, we recognize that we have a major role in the healthcare of our community. For many members of our community who do not drive, we are their connection to healthy healthcare outcomes. And so we're just so excited about today being able to partner with Agape and pulling together these mobile vaccination units. It'll have an immense impact on our community.
That ingenuity caught the attention of the White House and got a shout out from the new U.S. Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg.
In Jacksonville, Florida, the Transportation Authority there helped to launch Wellness on Wheels, a mobile vaccine service ensuring that seniors and underserved communities had the opportunity to secure those critically needed vaccinations. And these are the kinds of efforts that are going to get more support.
JTA didn't stop there. It is also partnering with Uber to provide up to 4,000 door-to-door rides in 10 Jacksonville neighborhoods to help even more people get to vaccination sites. But JTA's COVID response went beyond vaccinations. The pandemic left thousands of people jobless and hungry, and many businesses, especially restaurants, barely hanging on.
Our business had gone down almost 80%.
So JTA found ways to help them too. JTA reached out to several local Jacksonville area restaurants and placed large food orders to feed its frontline employees. It was a simple thank you for our hero workers and one less thing they had to worry about in a day filled with the stress of providing transportation during a global pandemic. For the restaurants, an order for several hundred meals was a lifesaver, helping to keep the doors open and their workers employed.
That's a significant amount of business that would have been, easily would have been our busiest day ever.
Volunteers working with our community outreach initiative, JTA Cares, helped ensure needy members of our community had food to eat. Working with the nonprofit food bank Farm Share, JTA employees distributed tens of thousands of pounds of food on multiple dates and in multiple locations around Jacksonville. That food went directly to those who needed it most during these most challenging times. And while food deserts continue to be a reality in many local neighborhoods, the authority partnered with Abundant Harvest Farms in Baker County to host a weekly farmers market at the JRTC. The Friday market features an abundance of affordable fresh fruits and vegetables previously unavailable to many of our customers. The coronavirus has been a brutal reminder of how tough life can be. It also reminded us how resilient, strong, and caring we are, and that nothing, not even a global pandemic, could keep us down. After all, we are JTA.
Well, and that was a great look back at how we have, worked pretty hard over the past 18 months. So congratulations to all of my colleagues here at the JTA, especially our frontline employees who are, out there helping our customers every single day. Next, it is my pleasure to welcome Nuria Fernandez, who was confirmed by the U.S. Senate as the 15th Administrator of the Federal Transit Administration this past June. She was previously appointed as Deputy Administrator and Senior FTA official as President Biden took office. She came to the FTA after serving as General Manager and CEO of the Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority, also known as VTA, where she was responsible for 2,100 employees, oversaw projects, programs, and transit services that provided mobility solutions for more than 2,000 people who live and work in the Silicon Valley area. Today, she's joining us from Washington, D.C. It is a pleasure to have you. Please join me in welcoming the FTA Administrator, Ms. Nuria Fernandez. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you, David. And good morning, Mayor Curry and Chairperson Jolly and CEO Ford. On behalf of Secretary Pete Buttigieg and the Biden-Harris administration, I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. I would also like to recognize FTA Region 4 Administrator Yvette Taylor and her team for their excellent work leading our federal transit program in Florida. President Biden and Secretary Buttigieg believe that an investment in transportation infrastructure creates jobs, it grows the economy, and stems the climate crisis sustainably and equitably. Public transportation delivers on all these goals, and as a nation, there's much more we can do to close the gaps in service and access for all people in our communities. I am happy to join you to speak about the federal transportation policy and support for transit projects in the Jacksonville region. This is truly a pivotal time for our nation's public transportation systems. Over the next days, Congress will debate and vote on the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act that was passed by the Senate last month. This legislation includes $550 billion in new federal investment in America's infrastructure. And this level of investment is important because the transit industry will receive almost $90 billion in guaranteed funding, and that will be the most significant federal support for transit in our nation's history. The proposed funding is not just an abstract number. It will improve people's lives throughout the nation, including in Jacksonville, by providing additional federal funding to support strategic transit expansion and also to improve the state of good repair of transit assets. A great example of transit investment is JTA's recent completion of the Orange Line, the fourth and final line in the First Coast Flyer BRT network. So in just a week, buses will start running on the line, providing new fast and convenient transit access to jobs and community services in Southwest Jacksonville. By connecting to the Jacksonville Regional Transportation Center, more riders can easily reach jobs, schools, including Florida State College's Kent campus, and other opportunities throughout the region without having to set a foot in a car. As this line opens, JTA's First Coast Flyer will become the largest operating bus rapid transit system in the Southeast United States. This project will help accelerate the city's path to full employment, improve access and mobility for thousands of people traveling in the Jacksonville area, and it will also help reduce carbon emissions. So I commend JTA and Nat Ford's leadership for your work to complete a 57-mile system that touches all corners of Jacksonville, offering fewer stops, shorter waits, and easier transfers. USDOT supported the First Coast Flyer with close to $90 million in grants, mainly through our Capital Investment Grants Program. So with this example, we really look at this once-in-a-generation opportunity to make smart investments in our nation's transit infrastructure and also to address climate change. The infrastructure bill includes support for transit agencies to invest in no-emission vehicles and training for transit workers to maintain and operate those vehicles. So as we continue to switch from fossil fuels to electric or hydrogen-based energy sources, we will reduce the greenhouse gas emissions that play such a big role in our planet's rising temperatures. Of course, we see the impacts of climate change everywhere. Most recently, we experienced the devastating loss of life and the damage from Hurricane Ida. But you are, of course, familiar with hurricanes in Florida. In fact, more storms hit Florida than any other state. And at FTA, we're committed to leading efforts to combat climate change by ensuring our communities have the fiscal and technical resources to convert to greener transit fleets. In June, FTA launched the Sustainable Transit for Healthy Planet Challenge. This initiative encourages transit agencies to develop climate action plans and to make strategic investments that will support President Biden's goal of achieving a 50% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. Thank you, JTA, for signing up for the challenge and to committing to develop a climate action strategy. We will make a difference if we continue to work together. So while transit grand openings command most of the attention, it is also important to focus on capacity and state of good repair. So that brings me to your passenger ferry system. This past April, JTA completed refurbishing its St. John's Ferry and returned it to passenger service. Well done. In January, JTA upgraded its Jan Ribald Ferry, improving accessibility for people with disabilities and improving safety in the surrounding area and the catwalk. While it may not make headlines, working on the support systems for the ferry and also adding passenger amenities makes a better experience and encourages more people to ride. FTA as a partner contributed nearly $13 million towards these ferry enhancements. So as was mentioned earlier, as we have lived through the pandemic, we have relied on each other. And in the Federal Transit Administration, we've also looked at technology and how it can help shape the way we live and work, including where, when, and how we travel. And I feel that technology holds great promise to improve safety, accessibility, to promote equity, and also to drive economic development. JTA has been consistently ahead of the curve when it comes to innovation, including its work to develop an autonomous vehicle system. Your efforts already have proven helpful, especially during the earliest days of the pandemic, when JTA used autonomous vehicles to transport COVID test samples to the Mayo Clinic. And JTA has been responsive to the president's call to vaccinate as many Americans as possible. Your Wellness on Wheels mobile clinic has provided thousands of vaccinations in the community, including hard-to-reach groups such as seniors. The pandemic has posed so many challenges, but it has also presented a path toward a better future if we invest in transportation systems that help everyone get where they need to go. I'm optimistic that together we can work better. We can move the president's goals to build back better. So thanks again for inviting me to speak to you today, and best wishes for your future at JTA.
And thank you, Administrator. We appreciate you spending some time with us. I know you have a very, very busy schedule, so it means the world to us here in Jacksonville that you could join us virtually from our nation's capital. We also appreciate what you and your staff do in DC to help improve public transportation and mobility across the nation. Before we get to our CEO Before we get to our CEO report, we'd like to take a look back at the year that was here at the JTA, because a lot has happened since the last time we held a State of the Authority address. So we saw what we did for COVID-19. Let's check out all of the other great innovations that have taken place since.
Scaled back vaccination sites is leading to a travel time for some people across the area.
But some seniors who don't have access to a car struggle to make the trip to Arlington. It's why JTA added a new stop for buses serving Regency with door-to-door service.
Service is called Ready Ride, and it's a free service provided by JTA. All seniors have to do is show their ID, and it'll provide free transportation. Seniors that have issues getting here can also get free transportation with help from JTA.
Ready Ride will schedule that appointment, pick them up at their house, drop them off right here at this senior center.
The first time we're getting a better idea of how self-driving shuttles will operate on Bay Street. This afternoon, JTA's Vice President of Automation and Innovation, Bernard Schmidt, showed me some of the testing they're putting the shuttles through. At intersections downtown, special antennas will go on top of traffic lights. Those antennas communicate with the self-driving shuttles, telling them when to stop and when to go.
We've tested over 7 vehicles across 4 different platforms, and so we've played with all the top makers.
JTA is using tires on its Ollie 2.0, one of its 15-seater self-driving vehicles.
Reimagining what mobility looks like.
We've made significant progress in terms of identifying the JTA and Jacksonville as a hub of autonomous vehicle technology and development.
It will mean more jobs for Jacksonville. That's the conclusion from the mayor's office following the release of a study on the proposed gas tax.
The mayor and the leader of JTA weigh in on the report. This new study by an economist from the University of North Florida says the proposed gas tax would mean 7,600 new jobs and generate an economic impact of $1.6 billion.
14-5 was the final vote as Jacksonville City Council votes to double its gas tax, something Mayor Lenny Curry is saying is a win for the city.
City leaders all talk about wanting downtown to be population dense and vibrant and have retail and housing and all this, but you got to be able to move people, and that's a piece of the puzzle.
All right, well, thank you guys for that look back at the year that was since our last State of the Authority address here at the Jacksonville Transportation Authority. Of course, those videos will be available online as well for you to view. I know there's always some streaming issues when we do these virtual events, so but no worries. Thank you again for that. Now it's time to introduce our Chief Executive Officer. Nat Ford joined the JTA nearly 9 years ago, and during his time here, he's really transformed the agency into a multimodal and regionally focused transportation authority. This past year, the JTA was named the Outstanding Public Transportation Agency in Florida by the Florida Public Transportation Association, mainly due to our response to the pandemic. During that time, Mr. Ford was also named the American Public Transportation Association's Outstanding Public Transportation Manager, one of many national recognitions he's received over the years. Good morning, Mr. Ford. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to your report.
Well, thank you, David, and thank you, Chair Jolly, for those inspiring words as we begin the next 50 years of service as the Jacksonville Transportation Authority. I'd like to welcome everyone who joined us today online, including Mayor Lenny Curry, FTA Administrator Nuria Fernandez, members of City Council, elected officials, JTA stakeholders, as well as the JTA staff and members of the media. Now, before I continue, I'd be remiss if I didn't share my thoughts about the Honorable Tommy Hazouri. Tommy was one of a kind, a pioneer and a force like no other, and he truly believed in public transportation, and he helped fund it more than once during his career in government. He helped us with leading the charge to invest more into our infrastructure, along with Mayor Curry and his peers on City Council, with the extension of the local option gas tax. And as a former mayor, state legislator, school board member, and City Council president, Tommy Hazouri set a high bar for all of us. He set high expectations that we should all strive to exceed, and our condolences go out to Carol and his family. And on behalf of all of the employees here at the JTA and our families, we want to thank you, and it is with fondness we will remember Mr. Hazouri. Now, here at the JTA, the last 12 months have been very impactful, challenging, and inspiring. And as you saw in the video a few moments ago, we have not stopped as the JTA doing the important work of fulfilling our mission, which is to improve Northeast Florida's economy, environment, and quality of life by providing safe, reliable, efficient, and sustainable multimodal transportation services and facilities. And the JTA continues to receive national and international attention for our efforts. Just yesterday, Monday, September 20th, the announcement was made that the JTA is this year's ITS World Congress Hall of Fame local government winner for the Americas region. This is an incredible honor that represents the great work of our employees, especially for their service during this pandemic. Now, the JTA receives these recognitions because of the dedicated public transportation professionals who care deeply for the well-being of this community we serve. I want to recognize all of the brave frontline employees who kept our city moving. They drive our buses, they maintain our fleets, they clean our facilities, and they interact with thousands of our customers on a daily basis. They are truly the backbone of the JTA and have risen to every challenge that was presented to them during this pandemic. Behind the scenes, our administrative staff have also done a fantastic job, and they've adjusted to the realities of working through this difficult time. Last year, as we were settling into the new Jacksonville Regional Transportation Center at La Villa, they had to quickly pivot to ensure our operations could continue without disruption. Today, the pandemic continues to challenge us in many ways. And like many of our peer transit agencies across the nation, and quite frankly, the private sector too, we are working hard to hire as many bus operators and drivers as we can. We're offering a significant hiring bonus to those who possess a commercial driver's license and those who do not possess a CDL. And at the JTA, we want to tell you, you can begin a long and fulfilling career with great benefits, a rewarding culture, and opportunities for advancement. So please, if you want to learn more, go to our careers page and get your application submitted for the JTA team and family. As we move into the next fiscal year, building back our pre-pandemic ridership remains a top priority. Before COVID-19 began to impact our community, the JTA was moving over an average of 33,000 people per day. That number dropped in early 2020 as more people moved to remote work, as well as temporary lockdowns that were taking effect impacted their work patterns. Over the past year, we've begun to start seeing our ridership begin to return, and each day many people are returning to the office or going back to in-person classes on a college campus. We're now moving an average of about 17,000 people per day through our fixed route bus and bus rapid transit lines. And I want to thank our customers for continuing to follow the important COVID-19 protocols we've put in place, from wearing your mask on board to respecting our bus operators and staying socially distant at our stations. I also want to thank you for your patience as we continue to adjust and evaluate our service levels. Our next service change will take place on Monday, September 27th. Now, this will allow us to sustain our service with safe and reliable operations. And while some lower ridership routes are going away for now, others are being extended and streamlined. We are introducing our 12th Ready Ride Zone in the university area, along with the final leg of our bus rapid transit network, the First Coast Flyer Orange Line. This 13-mile route will connect the Orange Park area with downtown Jacksonville and connect right here at the Jacksonville Regional Transportation Center at La Villa. And at 58 miles, the First Coast Flyer BRT system is the largest bus rapid transit system in the Southeast United States, and it is only possible through the support of our local, state, and federal partners. This past year, our portfolio of alternative and micro-transit options also expanded. Ready Ride, our on-call curb-to-curb neighborhood shuttles, expanded to 11 Jacksonville neighborhoods. And as I mentioned before, our 12th Ready Ride zone opens up next Monday. At just $2 per trip, Ready Ride will take you anywhere within a 10-mile neighborhood zone on your time and directly to your destination, door to door. You can connect to one of our mobility hubs or to a JTA bus stop also to continue your journey. Another alternative is our expanded partnership with Beach Buggy and Go Tuckin'. With Beach Buggy, you can quickly get to your restaurant, the beach, and just about anywhere in Jacksonville, Neptune, and Atlantic beaches. They are also operating in the growing South Bank and San Marco areas. Go Tuckin' serves downtown Brooklyn, Riverside, and Avondale areas, and they are providing quick on-demand trips in their open-air tuk-tuks. Both are locally owned. They're micro-mobility companies that we are proud to sponsor and partner with in terms of improving mobility in our community. As it relates to regionalism, our regional focus grew also as we introduced new commuter services and expanded our reach in nearby Clay County. In Clay, we introduced the Green Line, which is helping veterans and their families get from Penny Farms and other rural parts of the county to the Middleburg VA Clinic. Now, the Green Line is joining the blue, red, and magenta lines that we operate in Clay County. And this year, we relaunched the Nassau Express Select and added the St. John's Express Select service from downtown St. Augustine to the Jacksonville Regional Transportation Center. These are direct commuter shuttles that come from these communities to downtown Jacksonville every morning and evening. Now, all of these services come together at the Jacksonville Regional Transportation Center at La Villa, Northeast Florida's first multimodal hub. On May 4th, we celebrated over our one-year anniversary in La Villa, a community that we are so proud to be part of this rejuvenation. La Villa's rich history can be felt throughout this building with custom wall murals that tell the stories of African-American business owners and pioneers like James Weldon Johnson and A. Philip Randolph. Later this week, we will share a candid one-on-one interview I did with Mr. Rodney Hurst, speaking about that legacy and the role that JTA has played in Jacksonville over the past 50 years. So please stay tuned to our YouTube channel and other social media channels for that update. Outside of the JRTC, the birthplace of public transit in Jacksonville is once again helping people along their journeys. With the JRTC at La Villa, you can continue your trip outside of Jacksonville with Greyhound and Megabus a few steps away from the main terminal. And in the future, we see room for Amtrak and other commuter rail options to join our growing mobility hub. One of the newest additions to the JRTC is the Crazy Beans Cafe, a locally owned coffee shop and the first restaurant to open in La Villa in more than a decade. And they've joined the Abundant Harvest Farm Fresh Market Produce Market, which provides organic produce, snacks, and other items each Friday during the week. This year, our work also took on a more meaningful role in our community as the pandemic spread, as testing and vaccinations became more widely available. And as you've heard, in March, the JTA and Agape Family Health launched Wellness on Wheels. Over the course of just a few weeks, our talented maintenance crews converted 4 retired JTA buses into mobile COVID-19 vaccination clinics. The JTA was the first public transportation agency in Florida and one of the first in the nation to launch an initiative like this. Each day, we send Wellness on Wheels to different parts of our community, to senior housing facilities, to college campuses, to corporate offices, and specifically to underserved neighborhoods where vaccine hesitancy is greater. We take our role in this community very seriously. And this is another example of how public transportation has a positive impact on public health. I'd like to take a moment to thank Mia Jones and the Agape team for making this all possible, along with the JTA Wellness on Wheels team for all they're doing to improve the quality of life for our citizens. And I'm proud to report that since early March, Wellness on Wheels has helped more than 10,200 people get vaccinated. It's an incredible effort, and it's one that we will continue into the fall. As Chairwoman Jolly mentioned in her remarks, the JTA has a history of building roads in our community. We continued that historic tradition 7 years ago with the launch of JTA Mobility Works, a $70 million initiative to complete 24 road projects in Jacksonville. In 2021, we have broken ground on the final group of projects. Through Mobility Works, we've built more than 20 miles of sidewalks, revamped major corridors, and made travel safer along with our partners at the city and FDOT. Our Complete Street program along Kernan Boulevard and Gervin Road added much needed sidewalks, multi-use paths, signalized crosswalks, and added more capacity for our vehicles. As that work sunsets in the next few years, we are preparing for the next round of projects. And this leads me to a very important milestone and one that will shape the future of Jacksonville for decades to come. This past spring, the JTA, Mayor Curry, and the City Council prioritized our public infrastructure through the passage of an extension of the local option gas tax. I want to personally thank Mayor Curry for his leadership, his vision, and for all the work that he does on behalf of our citizens. It was the mayor who pulled us together to ensure Jacksonville would remain economically strong if this pandemic were to cause a recession. He charged us with finding shovel-ready projects and a way to pay for them that would not burden one segment of the population over another. And thanks to his leadership, we now have a new funding source to invest more than $1 billion into our roads, sidewalks, and public transportation in neighborhoods. I want to thank everyone who shared their thoughts with us at the public meetings we held, through the Jobs for Jacks website that we stood up, and also in the local media. Their input helped shape this legislation. For the JTA, Jobs for Jacks includes 10 complete streets projects to make mobility corridors safer for walkers, bikers, bus riders, as well as drivers of automobiles. ADA upgrades to more than 800 bus stops across Jacksonville. We will be 100% ADA accessible once we complete that work, and $132 million in funding for the Emerald Trail Network in the urban core. We also now have funding to purchase a second St. Johns River ferry, which is a vital connection for historic Mayport Village and the Fort George Island. This will allow us to avoid the closures for maintenance or any unexpected repairs like those we experienced just a couple of weeks ago. We're looking also at the latest technology, whether it's electric or fully autonomous as it relates to the St. Johns River ferry. The expanded LOGT will also invest in the future of mobility in downtown Jacksonville. The LOGT extension has funding for phase 2 of the ultimate urban circulator, our vision to modernize and expand the system we call the Skyway. That work has already started with phase 1, which is the Bay Street Innovation Corridor, which was funded outside of the LOGT work. In fact, there was a US DOT build grant that is providing a significant amount of funding for that project. And within the next month, we will award a full contract with the Balfour Beatty Vision 2 Reality Consortium. We expect major work on phase 1 to begin in the next year. Now, phase 2 is a much bigger lift, as it requires the full conversion from our Skyway superstructure to a roadway at elevation. This phase includes those alterations and the connections to the ground level Bay Street section. And we are so excited about this project, and we're excited to begin this work so that the original Skyway, in the form of the new U2C, will reach its full original potential. As we began to work on U2C, federal funding was paramount. As I mentioned, not only did the US DOT provide us with $12.5 million in the form of a build grant, we've also received 3 additional grants to study transit-oriented development totaling nearly $3 million since 2019. The first study revolves around the 10-mile U2C network and will be available following today's program. We are so excited about producing this report. I'd like to thank the City of Jacksonville, the Downtown Investment Authority, the residents of Springfield, San Marco, Riverside, Brooklyn, and Avondale, as well as the Urban Corps for helping us develop what I believe is one of the most comprehensive studies ever conducted on downtown Jacksonville. Our Chief Administrative Officer, Cleveland Ferguson, will take a deeper dive into the details following our keynote addresses. This study is a community asset, something residents, business owners, and developers can use. With the TOD study wrapping up, we are now shifting focus to studying TOD potential, transit-oriented development potential along the First Coast Flyer Green Line, which is the North BRT corridor that traverses Lem Turner. And then we will also begin a comprehensive study along the proposed First Coast commuter rail line between the JRTC at La Villa and St. Augustine along US 1. In wrapping up, I want to thank again all of our guests for being here today, including FTA Administrator Nuria Fernandez. I've had the pleasure of working with Nuria for a long time. She's a colleague, a friend, and in my opinion, the best possible fit for the FTA administrative position. And that's because she's been in my shoes. She has a tremendous amount of practical boots on the ground experience leading a large public transportation agency during her career. She brings to DC that critical local perspective on the impact that policymaking and how federal grants are impacting agencies at the local level. So we are so thrilled that she could join us today, and I can't wait to hear about her perspective from our nation's capital. I think she shared some of that with us, and we will have more to share with her going into the future. And then finally, thank you, Jacksonville. Our board of directors, our employees, you've done a fantastic job over the past 50 years, and the next 50 years are even more brighter. And so here's to the next half a century. And again, thank you for all the fine work you're doing. Thank you to all of our stakeholders and our policymakers. And with that, David, I'll turn it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ford, for your remarks and, of course, for your leadership here at the Jacksonville Transportation Authority. We are moving right along this morning, and we've gotten through a lot of our speaking points and a lot of our keynote speakers today. And so now we're gonna sort of wrap up today's session on a pretty fun and interesting note. And that'll be because of our Chief Administrative Officer and Senior Vice President, Cleveland Ferguson, and his presentation, which is going to be focused on transit supportive urbanism and the debut of our transit-oriented development study along the proposed U2C. Now, I know you're wondering what's transit-supported urbanism, what's transit-oriented development. Cleveland's going to go over all of this, and so he joins us now. Welcome, Cleveland, to the program. I know you're going to bring your presentation up here just momentarily.
So as David mentioned, the transit supportive urbanism, the heart of it is that convenient access to transit can be a key attraction that fosters mixed-use development, and the increased density in station areas not only supports transit, but also may accomplish other goals, such as reducing urban sprawl, reducing congestion, increasing pedestrian activity, increasing economic development potential, realizing environmental benefits, and building sustainable communities. Our board of directors recognized this years ago and empowered the staff through the dynamic leadership of Mr. Ford to have peer reviews and industry leaders to evaluate our program, along with more than 150 stakeholders from Northeast Florida, to develop the appropriate policies, processes, and procedures, combined with the necessary flexibility and technical assistance to move the needle on economic development, which is a core part of our mission. Some key outcomes include our successful advocacy of the state legislature and the governor signing into law a crucial amendment that expands JTA's authority to include 99-year ground leases. This allows JTA to negotiate with the private sector in a way that increases certainty and predictability as developers finance their construction projects with JTA as its partner. The state and city council approved comprehensive plan amendments that make TOD zoning overlays possible, and we anticipate completing the zoning changes in partnership with the city by year's end. We have become a trusted partner to many, including the city of St. Augustine, as it begins to consider how transit supportive urbanism can assist them in improving the quality of life for its residents. We are celebrating 50 years of the existence of the JTA this month. Given that road building is in our DNA as an expressway authority, we accumulated more than a couple hundred remnant parcels or lazy assets on our books over the decades. The board has engaged in strategic dispositions over the last 5 years, including these most recent examples that continue to yield returns on investments for taxpayers in supporting our non-fare box revenue. Under Mr. Ford's leadership, we are very nearly at the end of a disposition from parcels from the 1970s. We subdivided it and are imminently closing on the last parcel, which all told will provide more than $26 million back to our capital projects fund to reinvest in this community. It's that kind of know-how from JTA that enabled us to land our first transit-oriented development grant from the FTA of more than $1.2 million. This competitive grant provided the opportunity to take a deep dive into the planned ultimate urban circulator station areas, understand the existing marketplace, imagine the possibilities, and chart a course for implementation in coordination with the community and stakeholders. It has been quite a journey. As we pivoted from multiple in-person meetings at branch libraries, senior centers, and parks to the virtual environment, we moved from discovery, where are we today, to discussion, where do we want to go, to definition, how do we get there, and ultimately to the mindset of development and implementing the vision. In understanding where we are today, we had to understand the demographics around our station areas. What was the market telling us from both a commercial perspective and a residential perspective? With the premise that downtown Jacksonville is everyone's neighborhood, what were the existing assets that would inspire the suburbs to visit and return, in addition to attracting others to remain and live downtown? What factors make up the station areas around the U2C more desirable? Which were ripe for partnerships? How could we interconnect with the plans from the city and others in widening the bicycle network from our stations, making the station areas more livable and pedestrian friendly? So we connected with local leadership, identified market strength, physical suitability, and existing conditions to frame our understanding. Over 18 months, from October 18 through August of this year, we engaged the public in over 3 rounds of public outreach and surveys. Participants were able to engage in a virtual open house that literally enabled them to walk through a virtual environment at scale to get a sense of the possibilities and provide the JTA their valuable feedback. Today, we invite you to be a part of this experience. In the chat box is a link for this 528-page study. This is one of the most comprehensive transit-oriented development studies ever done in downtown Jacksonville. It lays the foundation and provides a clear blueprint for residents, developers, and those looking to invest in our urban core. If we're going to get serious about increasing density, improving walkability, and managing the potential our city has over the next several years, public transportation and transit-oriented development must be part of the conversation. You will find approaches to incorporating shared mobility with placemaking, enhancing economic development with transit ridership, increasing non-motorized access to station areas, and a key tenet of the JTA Board of Directors TOD policy, creating equitable mixed income TOD. The study identifies 4 primary typologies to be used as a tool for stakeholders to plan and to take advantage of federal, state, and local incentives while partnering with the JTA for the appropriate transit infrastructure and joint use and/or TOD projects. Through the community's input, the TOD expertise of our team, the station areas were assessed, with 4 of them having the highest ranking for readiness. One example is our Rosa Parks Transit Station. The study envisions the station area as the core of a 6 million square foot area that enables patrons to leave their single occupant vehicles in garages in the outskirts of the core, with the U2C being the primary means of traversing the longer distances from the North Bank and South Bank, and from the JRTC, or Lift Every Voice and Sing Park in La Villa, to the sports and entertainment districts, while enjoying a walkable, bikeable, pedestrian-friendly inner core that maximizes density through height rather than sprawl, making efficient use of infill, and incentivizing developers and community partners to invest in creating spaces for living, spaces for working and playing. Today, if you drive between Union and State Streets, you will see this 2.5-acre site being prepped and readied for development to help you imagine the possibilities. Lest you think this study is for the far future, I am pleased to share that our Montana Avenue TOD long-term ground lease will be executed by the end of this month, which is near the Kings Avenue station area. And on the BRT East First Coast Flyer side, we are cutting the ribbon next week on the KIPP School's latest project, which is a TOD off of Gulf Air Boulevard, an asset that had been laid dormant for more than 10 years. This will provide access to employees, teachers, parents, and students with the premium services such as the Green Line's increased frequency, as well as the locker system for customers to pick up packages purchased online, as well as dropping off returns on their way to work or school. With the continued success of the JTA in terms of being awarded federal discretionary grants, we have just been awarded the TOD pilot grant study along the Green Line from Armsdale Road to the JRTC, which services a primarily cash-based market. This will give us the opportunity to focus on equitable TOD and develop policies in partnership with the city, learning from others how to ward off issues such as gentrification with proven approaches from others that help keep historical businesses in place as TOD assists in improving the quality of life for everyone. As we look into the far future, we will begin to prepare today with the third of our TOD grants in as many years to explore station areas between downtown Jacksonville and the city of St. Augustine in St. Johns County, a 38-mile corridor with many opportunities for transit partnership and development. We've established the Avenue's Park and Ride in a busy commercial and retail setting. Our university transit hub along US 1 is being marketed for a long-term lease in a prime commercial corridor. So we announced in 2018 that the JTA is open for business. And we are open to strategic partnerships. We look forward to working with those who will use today's study for the types of development that may be supported by transit and that in turn may support transit. Thank you. David, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ferguson, for your presentation and a look at the future with our transit-oriented development program. As Mr. Ferguson mentioned, this study will be, we had it in our chat, and we'll also tweet it out this afternoon. And then for members of the media, you will have a copy in your inboxes here very shortly. As we wrap up our program, I want to thank all of our guests, media, the public, our board of directors for being here, and members of the executive leadership team. I'd especially like to thank FTA Administrator Nuria Fernandez for spending time with us, our keynote speaker, Mayor Lenny Curry, along with, again, our board chair, Ari Jolly, our CEO, Mr. Nathaniel Ford, and Mr. Cleveland Ferguson for your presentations today. For more information about the Jacksonville Transportation Authority, our services, and what the future holds, please visit us online at www.jtafla.org. JTA.com, and please follow our social accounts at JTA FLA. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.